My name is Ben Eden. I've been a full-time speaker since February of this year, rather new. I've been speaking all over the world for my previous job, though, as an executive HR director. And I loved what I was doing, but I felt it was important for me to leave that and do this full-time because I feel like I have a message that can bless the world. 5 takeaways that you're going to get from my message. You will first define why you want courage. You'll clarify what is holding you back from being courageous. You'll hear 3 types of courage. Then you'll learn how to have power over how you feel. And finally, you will decide to be courageous. How's that sound? All right. Now to get started, I'm going to tell you how to train an elephant. This will be fun. When an elephant is young, a trainer takes a metal chain and puts it around the elephant's ankle and ties that chain to a metal pole in the ground. The elephant, being young, looks down and says, no biggie, and tries to go about its normal day. But it finds that the chain is too strong and it can't move. So after a day of pulling, the elephant still hasn't been able to move, and now its ankle is raw. The next day, the trainer returns and replaces the metal chain with a rope and ties the rope to a wooden stake in the ground. The elephant looks down and says, hey, something's different. He tries to move, but he finds that his ankle is still raw. It still hurts. So now he looks down and says, there's something around my ankle. It hurts when I try to move. Therefore, I will not move. Okay. The next day, the trainer comes back, takes the wooden stake out of the ground, but leaves the rope around the elephant's ankle. So if you can imagine this, an elephant with just a rope around its ankle tied to nothing. But the elephant looks down and says, there's something around my ankle. It hurts when I try to move, therefore I will not move. Fast forward 10 years to when the elephant is an adult. The trainer puts a rope around the ankle, tied to nothing, and what happens? The elephant looks down, says, there's something around my ankle. It hurt when I tried to move, therefore I will not move. Now those of us looking at this massive elephant, we all know how big an elephant is, my goodness, how much strength and potential they have, and it's not moving because of a tiny little rope tied to nothing? What is the deal? Why would they do that? To us, what looks like a rope tied to nothing represents something much more to the elephant, something that has the potential of stopping that elephant from moving forward. Now we're going to pause on that story. We're going to break it down a little bit. We're talking about courage right now. In the chat, I want you to write, what does courage feel like? Okay, and then we'll start to combine the elephant story with this. But I want you to write in the chat, what does courage feel like? In order for us to attain something, we have to have imagined it. We have to kind of know what we're looking for, because otherwise when we're there, we'll have no idea, right? So yeah, go ahead and put that in the comments there. Good, something's coming in. Fear mixed with opportunity. I like that. Okay, it's true that there might be both there. Perfect. Any other thoughts? What does courage feel like? Because again, we have to know what it feels like to get there so we know when we've arrived. I'll give a few seconds for a couple more thoughts to come in. Strength, good. I like that. Maybe some confidence, maybe brave, right? Some feelings like that. And you say, okay, I start to feel a little bit better if I have courage. Light and empowerment, perfect. Now think to yourself, why do you want courage? Is it really such a big deal? Can you get through life without it? Can you just ho-hum and everything else without courage? I hope you don't think that way. That's why you're here at this summit, to gain that courage, to do something that you want, right? These feelings that we talked about are very powerful, and we can get there based on what we're going to learn today. Now, somebody did mention fear, all right? Back to the story of the elephant, where we're here saying, I want courage. It's important for me to have courage so that I can accomplish something. I know what it feels like, empowerment, brave, confident. But there's something holding me back, this rope. So once more, and thank you for your participation so far, type in the comments, what is holding you back from having courage? Having the courage that you want. What is the rope around your ankle stopping you from having that courage? One common thing that happens to probably everybody at one time or another is the idea of fear, right? I'm going to tell you about 2 types of fear. One is fear of the future. The other is fear from the past. So let's break that down a little bit. Fear of the future. We think, well, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. It's a big unknown, isn't it? I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Or when I try to do what I want, I don't know exactly how it's going to work out. So that fear of the unknown causes us to fill that space with what ifs. Oh, the dreaded what ifs, right? What if this happens? What if that doesn't happen? What if I can't do this? What if, what if, what if? And it just terrifies you. It makes you stop. The other idea of fear of the unknown. A lot of times we're afraid of a dark room, especially when we're little, because we just don't know what's there. We don't know if there's a monster or not. How do you get past that? Well, you either turn the light on or you walk in with a flashlight, right? You use some source of light. The knowledge that we do have is the light that we can use to dispel the darkness. So there's a quick thought on the fear of the future. Here's fear from the past. Maybe you think, well, I can't, quote unquote, do what I want to. I can't accomplish what I'd like to because I've tried in the past and I failed. Because I've seen somebody else try and they failed. And we're going to talk about how you're talking to yourself later, okay? Because that's not going to be super helpful. Have those two ideas in mind. Fear of the future, fear from the past. Very good. All right. Now I'm going to tell you the 3 types of courage. And I chose these stories specifically for those who I felt would be in the audience, and hopefully these really resonate with you. As I'm going through, if you feel like one of the 3 do resonate with you a bit more, please type that in the chat, because again, we love that participation. So first of all, here's the first type of courage, the courage to try. When I was in high school, I was in the audition choir, and we were, putting together our concert, and one of the numbers, I was asked to be the lead singer. Cool, right? We were putting together a number from one of the Broadway shows, and at the very end of the show, I was supposed to stand on a table, raise both my arms in the air, and sing the final note, and boom. It was going to be a powerful finish. It's going to be sweet. But I was terrified for that because something about my body, something from the past, okay? I don't know if any of you relate, but a lot of people, when they're nervous, what happens? They sweat, right? They perspire. Now, I'm a guy who sweats maybe a lot more than others. So when I was going to get up on this table and raise both my arms, I thought, oh my goodness, well, I don't want people to see how sweaty I am. How embarrassing would that be in front of the entire audience at my high school? Can't live that down, right? And to make it matters worse, the wardrobe that we were wearing for this number was a light gray shirt. Oh, a terrible mix for that kind of thing, okay? So you can feel why there might be a reason for me to fear or have a lack of courage so far. Here's another thing to pull on why it was so difficult for me at the time to make this decision to try. This is fear from the past. When I was 9 or 10 years old, this is when I first discovered that I sweat a little bit more than most people. I was in elementary school, and we had just played a game of dodgeball for our PE class, and I was starting to realize that I was good at sports, and that my friends realized that I was good at sports. So it was starting to become important to me to care about what my friends thought of me. As we were leaving this PE class, my friends were laughing hysterically about something. Of course, I wanted to be involved, so I said, hey guys, what's so funny? They turned to me and they said, raise your arms. So I did. That's when I discovered that I had extremely sweaty armpits. Now you might think, oh, what's the big deal? You just played a game of dodgeball. Of course you'd be sweaty. Well, here I was, a 9 or 10-year-old boy, not knowing exactly how the body worked. And my friends were laughing at me. Why would they do that? My friends that I cared about what they thought about me. I felt extremely embarrassed in that moment. Maybe ashamed. I was like, oh my goodness, I probably wasn't supposed to do that, even though I had no control over it, right? And that moment scarred me. So you can see why this moment in high school, fast forwarding back to high school, why I was so terrified to go through another moment where I might raise my arms and people would discover something about me that I had no control of and I wasn't proud of. Now, that subject there I call emotional pain. And I talk about that in a different speech that I give, and I help people through coaching. But we're not going to focus on that totally today because we're talking about courage, this courage to try. Even though I had this thing in my past, and now it was waking up a nightmare of what happened before, I decided to try. I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. Why? Because there's a possibility. Just like there was a comment earlier, fear mixed with possibility or opportunity. I wanted to be the lead of that number. That's big. I love singing. I love being a part of that number. So I said, well, there is a wardrobe change right before the number, so maybe there won't have enough time for the sweat to go through the shirt. Okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll try. I went through the number, raised my arms, finished that note, and it was a great finish. The whole audience was applauding. Nobody laughed. Nobody made remarks of, oh, can you imagine that guy on stage doing that? No, that didn't come out. I even talked to a friend afterwards, and they said, yeah, there was no issue. That was so huge for me. So I was able to perform and do something big because I had the courage to try. That's the first example. Second example, courage to act. I lived in Brazil for 2 years because I was serving a mission for my church. Part of this mission, you're paired with another missionary. We call them companions. And that we're paired with somebody with experience and somebody without, right? Because you try to work together. Sometimes there's a brand new missionary with somebody who's called a trainer. I was the trainer when this brand new missionary came into town. And of course, as a trainer, I wanted to, show him the ropes, no pun intended from that elephant story earlier, right? But showing him the ropes, and I was like, man, I got to show this elder or this missionary how things should work and how he can be successful here in Brazil. Now in Brazil, you either do a lot of walking or you ride a lot of buses to travel. And in those buses, I don't know if you've ever been there, but my goodness, they are packed to the point where a lot of times you're just standing and holding on to that rod up top, right? And something common that we as missionaries would do, we'd get in front of the bus when it was packed full. We'd go to the very front, we'd turn around in front of everybody, and we'd give them a very short message saying, hey, we're the missionaries, this is our message, we'd love to visit with you and tell you more about it. And then we'd go down every seat, talking to every single person and see if they're interested and see if we can visit them. And here I was thinking as a trainer, I'm going to show my new companion exactly how this works, and it's going to work perfectly. Why? Because I'm the trainer, right? It's just going to work. So we got up, gave our message, and we started down the rows talking to every single person in the bus. Now my companion at the time, he didn't really speak much Portuguese, so I was doing this alone just to give him the example. After we spoke to every single person on that bus, how many people do you think let us go to their home and share a message with them? Big fat zero. What? That bus was packed. And here I am, the trainer, trying to tell this guy how things work and that it will work if you work hard. And it didn't. So I had these feelings as a trainer of letdown and a failure, of discouragement. And I was like, well, that was worthless. Why would I ever try that again? We still had a number of stops left, so we're like, whatever, we're just going to stand in the back and hopefully these stops pass quickly so we can get home and forget about it. After a few stops, people were getting off, and I'm like, whatever. After a few more stops, a woman gets on the bus. But I'm thinking, no, I already talked to everybody on this bus. I don't want to be humiliated again. I don't want another no. After a few more minutes, though, I was like, well, it's just one more person. Why not? I decided to have the courage to act and talk to one more person. I spoke to this woman, and guess what? She was interested. She gave us her address. We went to her home, shared more of our message, and 3 weeks later, she was converted. Woohoo! So it worked out because I had the courage to act, even after a moment of what I had defined as failure or discouragement. So first, I had the courage to try. Second, I had the courage to act. Third example is the courage to trust. When I was an HR executive, I reported to the CEO, so he was my boss. I had meetings with him all the time, yada, yada. At the same time, I was taking a class outside of work, a self-reliance class. And it was called Education for a Better Job. Now, the reason why I was in that class is a story for another time, because I had already finished my master's degree and I was already an executive, so why more education, why a better job, whatever. But there's a good reason why I was in this class. As part of the class, we met on a weekly basis with our group and we set goals. Okay, education for a better job. What are you gonna do to get there? Set goals, set goals. After a few weeks, I had this feeling. For your goal, you should write, prepare to buy a house. I'm like, what? That has nothing to do with a job or education. What a weird thought. So I ignored it for a bit, but I kept getting that thought. Prepare to buy a house is your goal. Okay, so I talked to my group and I was like, I don't know why I'm getting this, but I'm going to have this as my goal. Cool, they all supported me. A few weeks later, as I was working on preparing to buy a house, I had another thought. Ask your boss for a raise. Can you imagine how terrifying that would be? I was like, my boss doesn't even like me right now. Why would he give me a raise? We're just not getting along. I was like, whatever. I'll trust in that feeling. Courage to trust, right? So I go to work. And it's a little scary, but hey, I asked my boss, hey, can I meet with you afterwards? He's like, yeah. And he comes to my office and we have a quick conversation. I was like, hey, can I get a raise? I mean, I'm sure I didn't say it like that, but hey, can I get a raise? And he's like, you know what? Yes, you deserve one. I was baffled. I'm like, what? You said yes? We're not even really getting along? At least that's what I thought. Courage to trust. Okay? You see what amazing things happen if you just go forth with your courage. Courage to try, courage to act, courage to trust. Before I move on, if any of these types of courage resonated with you, go ahead and post it in the chat. Courage to try, courage to act, courage to trust. Like I say, I chose these stories on purpose. I hope they do resonate with you. Some sort of element with whatever part of life you're in. Something that you're wanting to do, something that might be holding you back. Maybe you want to move forward. What type of courage could inspire you? I like this. Both are awesome. Thank you. All right. So now, thinking back to why do you want courage? We talked about it earlier, right? Why do you want courage? Courage to do what? Have that in mind. Now think to yourself, well, how do I feel? I've heard a bunch of stories from Ben, a couple ideas about types of fear and types of courage. How do I feel in regards to my courage? I like this. Comments are coming in. Courage to act. Perfect. Courage to trust. Good. How am I feeling about my courage right now? How am I feeling? Am I feeling good? Am I feeling great? I hope so. If you still have a smidgen of fear, let's talk about that a tiny bit more. My friends, you have the power to decide how you feel. Like, what? Well, sometimes I wake up and I just don't feel great. Did I decide that? Or sometimes I am scared. Do I just decide to feel afraid? We're going to talk about that. Your brain will learn some amazing things here. First, I want you to imagine a lion chasing a gazelle. Interesting thought, right? But the same energy is between the two animals, the lion chasing the gazelle. Although we may say that the gazelle has the emotion or feeling of terror, fear, running for his life, and the lion has the emotion of courage or confidence. I'm going to get this gazelle, right? But it's the same energy. So it really depends on how we look at it, how we look at our lives. What do we focus on? Do we focus on the courage? Hey, we're about to do something great. Or do we focus on the fear? I'm afraid of doing something great. Choice is yours. Here's another powerful example that I want you to do with me right now. If you want to close your eyes, great. Otherwise, just imagine with me. Really do this because this is life-changing. I'm telling you, it's so cool. First, with your eyes closed, I want you to imagine. I want you to think of war, terror, disease, death. Now think of how you feel right now. I feel almost a pit in my stomach. I don't feel very great. I feel a little bit of darkness. I don't feel happy. Okay? Now I want you to think of something else. I want you to remember the happiest memory you have. Who were you with? What were you doing? What did you hear? What did you smell? What did you see? Now how do you feel? I feel a lot lighter, a lot happier. Okay? All this happened in 1 minute, and I changed how I felt. And hopefully you had that experience right now in 1 minute. Just by the words that I spoke, you chose to follow and think along with it, and it created some emotion in you. From the pit in your stomach to maybe the light feeling in your chest saying, wow, what a great memory. I remember that. That's so cool. If you can do that in 1 minute, such extremes, that shows you that you have the power to choose how you feel. Here's another tool to help you with that. I call it the triad of courage. To change how we feel, we can use this triad of courage, and this is what I'll wrap up with. First, we have to change our focus. That's exactly what we just did in this exercise. What am I focusing on? Am I focusing on the fear, the bad things in life, or the what ifs? Or am I focusing on what I want, what I can do, who I am, and the power that I do have? See that? The choice is absolutely yours. It starts with you, and you can do it. The second part of the triad is language. I mentioned this at the very beginning of my speech here, how we talk to ourselves. I want you to pay attention to the questions you often ask yourself or the phrases you often use. Why do bad things always happen to me? Why can't I ever do this? Why can't I be as cool as the person next door? See how those questions affect me? Or the phrases I always use. Oh, I'll never be able to do that. Oh, that's way too hard. Oh, that's way too scary. Those types of language really affect how we feel. So what do? We change them. We say, instead of the questions and phrases that we were using, we say, how cool will it be when I achieve this? How awesome will it be when I do this, when I help somebody, when I accomplish what I'm looking for? I can do this. Difference in how you speak, difference in your language, and it literally changes how you feel. Third and final thing. You guys can't see all of my torso here, but the third thing is physiology, or how you use your body. This is one of the coolest things that I've learned recently, and I've been putting it into practice. If I'm tired or nervous, and I'm going to start something that I really need to have some energy and give off a good message, hint right now in this speech, right? I could say, well, what I did is I need to change my physiology. This quote that I really like, motion creates emotion. Okay, motion creates emotion. So if I'm going to prepare for this speech or whatever I'm doing, and I'm just going to have shoulders slumped here, I'm going to turn to this side so you can kind of see it. Shoulders slumped, head down, thinking, oh, I really hope it's a good conference, and I just don't know exactly how it's going to go. Well, you guys aren't even going to like my energy. But if instead I stand straight up, chest out, chin up, with a smile on my face, and I say, this is going to be great. I'm so energetic for this. This message is important. I love the people I'm talking to. It's going to be so powerful. Everything is going to work out great. Bam. Just the fact that I said that makes me excited. It gives me the energy. I can feel a little bit of adrenaline going. Okay? I feel great. I can do this for 5 hours now. You won't have to listen to me for that long, but it's the principle. You can do it. This triad of courage. If you want courage, we talked about it beforehand, why you want courage, what you want it for. You can get it by changing your focus, changing your language, how you talk, and using your body to get there. My friends, the power is yours. You can decide to be courageous. Now, if you ask me at this moment, Ben, are you saying it's easy to change how I feel? Well, I'll leave that up to you.